You're watching special coverage of Nigeria's 2023 presidential and legislative election here on Arise News. I am Adesoa Omoruan.
And I'm Charles Aniagolu. Let's cross live now to the National Collation Center, where Arise Politics editor Sambo is standing by to shed more light on what's been going on there. Good to see you, Samna. Just bring us up to date with the process of collating and counting. What have we been hearing from the Electoral Commission, INEC, so far?
Thank you so much, Charles and Adeswa. It's good to see all of you again. So the National Collation Center is currently at the 29th state of the country, if you may add FCT, as we have heard that controversy surrounding whether FCT is a state or not by some of the political parties based on the earlier Supreme Court judgment. So as it stands, we are supposed to get 37 of those results, and we have 29 at the moment. So we're expecting 8 states which will be announced from the next hour. Because as at 7 p.m., the INEC National Chairman, who's the Chief Electoral Officer of the Federation, had announced that the Collation Center was going on a 2-hour break, and when we come back, we'll have more states then. But I mean, it's been full of intrigues, and of course, we've seen about 15 additional states, being brought by several state collation officers. And then, of course, in the midst of all that we've seen and heard, there was an incident that happened at the beginning of the collation for today, which is the Inter-Party Advisory Council, which is the body of all political parties in the country, having its national chairman, Yabaji Sani, who happens to be also the chairman of the African Democratic Action Democratic Party, and then of course he's also the presidential candidate of the ADP, leading some party chairmen here to pass a vote of confidence on the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, and then the party chairman took turns to actually talk on several issues as to why the other aggrieved political parties like the Labour Party and the PDP should allow the process to be completed. And in the midst of that, Charles, we also had the Chief Press Secretary to the INEC National Chairman, Rotimi Oyekomi, issuing a statement where he has categorically stated that the Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, will not resign as been demanded by the agents of the PDP, and then, of course, Labour Party, who had walked out yesterday. So, in a nutshell, this is all that's been happening. It's been quiet, though earlier on in the day we had some protesters who came within the precincts of the National Collation Center here at the International Conference Center within Abuja Central District, protesting and asking INEC to follow its guidelines, because according to them, INEC did not conduct the electronic transmission of results of the presidential polls as was required by its own guidelines and the Electoral Act according to them. But of course, the security services had to intervene.
Slowly but surely, Somna Sambo, and I was just checking my tally with the announcement of Sokoto. The whole of the Northwest results have come in, and of course, I think the Southwest as well. As you said, we're still expecting more states. But do you think that perhaps we can wrap up this process today? Is it possible? What do you think?
Yes, this was based on precedents, having covered several of these processes here in the past. There's a tendency that the results may finally come in, and this may be the 2-hour break may be a process to actually allow for all results to be brought in here, and eventually, hopefully, within the early hours of Wednesday, we should have a winner being emerged, or if there's a runoff, it will be announced, or whatever it is that the results are telling us at the moment. So it's left for the Chief Electoral Officer of the Federation, who happens to be the Presidential Returning Officer, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, to announce to the nation if indeed any of the candidate has met the constitutional requirements as prescribed in Section 133 and 134 of the 1999 Constitution. And of course, if you look at Section 65 and 66 of the Electoral Act, all of these have prescribed the mode for the declaration of election result. And so all eyes will be on the INEC chairman if indeed this process is able to be concluded tonight or in the early hours of Wednesday for a declaration to be made or a second ballot to be made if indeed no one has been able to cross the threshold.
And Sumner, you talked earlier briefly about this ongoing controversy, the back and forth between the leading political parties about whether or not the election the results should be cancelled. I mean, there have been demonstrations, I understand, in favour of and against INEC, quite a crowd of people apparently gathering outside the collation centre where you are on the basis of that result being called into question. I mean, are there concerns that the demonstrations on either side might escalate, that the politicians might stoke the fires as the anger smoulders?
Well, Charles, we've seen a lot of reinforcement within the precincts of the International Conference Center here, which is the holding facility for the National Collation Center. A lot of anti-riot policemen are around, and of course, you know, this is within the precinct of the military headquarters where we have the defense headquarters located with the headquarters of the Nigerian Army, Navy, and Air Force. So this is a very, very fortified zone, and of course, with this process that we're in at the moment, and having had 29 states, I wouldn't be surprised if when the final collation starts in the next hour, we should be able to see reinforced security in addition to what we are seeing earlier in the morning, which was higher than that of yesterday, and then even Saturday. And so as it stands right now, there have been protests. I mean, a lot of Nigerians are aggrieved, and a lot of Nigerians are also have come out to say, look, there are ways to address any grievances, so this is not the right place to actually come around and protest. And the authorities, especially the FCT police, are asking Nigerians within this area to allow the proceedings to go on peacefully. Let what exactly is prescribed in the law books be allowed to take place, and then whosoever has any grievances should approach the law courts here and there, that the police will be prepared to do what the law asks it to do. But in a nutshell, yes, you have talked about these grievances. The contending factors that have led to these grievances, and you've seen several press conferences, briefings being held by, interestingly, the PDP and the Labour Party coming together for the very first time, where we saw the PDP vice presidential candidate and that of the LP all coming together to personally, state their own ways, how they feel about it. And then as a party, the major grievance has been that, according to them, INEC did not upload all the results simultaneously or swiftly as the guidelines of INEC has said. And then if you follow the arguments that have been made by the APC agent, Babatunde Ogala here, who himself is a senior advocate of Nigeria, he has said clearly here that it's not compulsory immediately for INEC to do that. It depends on exactly what it's available to INEC at the moment, and that INEC was beginning to upload the results as available, as it was made available. So the other political parties should be cautious in some of their statements that they have been making, and that the guidelines of INEC are just administrative ways of how the Electoral Commission can, attend to issues. That we have the electoral law, and then, of course, the Constitution, which both supersedes the guidelines of the Commission. But some of the aggrieved parties are saying that, look, the guidelines, it's more of like an oath that INEC has sworn by itself to follow, so that those results should have been uploaded swiftly, and that because Nigerians can't have access to it, they don't know if what is being read just inside this hall is exactly what is meant to have been uploaded. So it's left for INEC to tell us at the end of this process, like the INEC National Chairman has said, whether indeed they are bound by what they have in their their guidelines or not. So as it stands right now, we all are waiting what eventually the INEC national chairman will say at the end of the collation, because he had asked for this time yesterday that we should allow him until the end of the collation before he can make a decision on that.
Somna, we have seen spokespersons of the major opposition political parties were saying vice presidential candidates of the parties. Hopefully, perhaps the next would be the presidential candidates themselves as things are going. But let me ask you, because we talked about IPAC speaking earlier, can it be said that they were speaking for all of these aggrieved parties? And what did the IPAC chairman mean when he said he was with the parties, but that the collation should go ahead?
Thank you so much, Adesuwa, for that question. Well, if you know how IPAC operates, most of the dominant political parties over time hardly send their national chairman, although they subscribe to the ideals of having a body of all political parties. So right from when that institution was formed, whenever there's a meeting of political party chairman, summoned by IPAC, most times it's usually the other fringe parties that you see being present there. As I know, as a journalist, over time, I have never seen, the PDP or APC chairman being present there, except there's a very, very crucial issues that they have interest in. And so in this instance, when the IPAC national chairman was speaking, it could have been that the meeting he talked about was the one that was attended by some other people outside these aggrieved political parties like the PDP and the Labour Party. And of course, if the Labour Party and the PDP had they had staged a walk out, and then they had grievances, holding press briefings here and there, including the NMPP, which just held a press briefing by its national chairman not quite long, that I don't think that his reference to all of them would include these political parties. So as it stands right now, the people who came around to talk here and said that they were passing a vote of confidence on the INEC national chairman were people who are the chairman of other political parties other than the NMPP, the Labour Party, and the PDP. So it looks like there could be some sort of division within these political parties. But of course, it's left for the PDP and Labour Party and NMP to actually dispute if indeed the IPAC national chairman was representing their interest or not. But this is what we learned.
Well, thank you so much, Somnath Sambo, our politics editor live from the National Collation Center here in Abuja. We do appreciate your analysis.